warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce, my name Nova di Learning Room. I'm from the Faculty of Adab and Language, English Education Department, NIM 196121042. Here, I will explain 5 terms in qualitative research along with example. Theory: scientific information that is abstract in nature and might not be directly used in research that researchers want to do through logical deduction of the abstract theory is translated into a hypothesis, namely scientific information that is more specific and more in line with the research objective. Theory in qualitative research are used to enable and help qualitative research understand what is intuitively known at first, but might change in later phase as social theory changes. Next, example of theory in qualitative research. Phenomenology. This perspective directs that what researchers are looking for in their research activities, how to carry out activities in research situation, and how researchers interpret various information that has been extracted and recorded all depend on the theoretical perspective used Bogdan and Taylor. For example, viewing human behavior, what they say and what they do is a product of how people interpret their own world. Next, hermeneutic. Hermeneutic refers to the interpretation of meaningful and intentional expression by human. That is, we interpret the interpretation that has been made by individual or group of human on their own situation in an interpretation of a work. It is believed that the work or event has meaning from the interpretation of the actor or creators. The work or event which is an interpretation or something that faces the reader or observer and is captured and interpreted as well. According to Gadamer, in explaining a work of art, each work will always be read by the observer or in other words, get a new meaning created by the observer. It shall be understood that the meaning of human expression is always bound and cannot be separate from its context. Thus, to understand an expression, one must understand the context, and to understand the context, one must understand individual expression. Next, symbolic interaction. Assumption that human experience is obtained through interpretation. Objects, situation, people, and even have two meanings of their own. The existence and occurrence of the meaning of distinct because they are given based on the interpretation of the people involved. In interpreting, a person can use the help of others in the activities and interaction of his daily life, but with people with different paths. For example, written family members and other people he meets at work and playground, as well as in written information. Talk, the interpretation of other, a person from meaning about something. People are constantly in a process of interpretation and definition as they move from one situation to another. All situations consist of actors with their activities as well as various physical objects contained in the situation. Next, ethnomethodology. Ethnomethodology more often emphasizes the mind subject under study and usually does not state or explain the method used by the researchers. It is the study how individuals create and understand their daily lives or the method of achievement used in their daily lives. The research subjects are people or groups in various special situations in our society. Researchers seek to understand how people perceive and formulate structure in the work of their own everyday life. Next, culture theory. Culture is knowledge that a person acquires and used to interpret experience that results in his behavior, that people do and why people do things in their lives is always based on their own definition of opinion, which is strongly influenced by their particular cultural background. Next, concept. Term and definition used to describe abstractly the occurrence of group or individual that are the center of attention in social sense. The researcher's concept is a unified understanding of a matter of or problem that needs to be formulated. In formulating and understanding, we must be able to explain according to other researchers' intention in using it. Qualitative research is research that is described and tends to use analyze, process, and meaning or subject perspective are more held-like. In qualitative research, the theoretical basis is used as a weight so that the research focus is in accordance with the fact on the ground. Next, example of qualitative research. Concept according to express. First, seleksi melon. Qualitative research is based on observation as opposite to qualitative observation that involve measurement the level of a certain future. Qualitative refers to the natural aspect as opposite to the quantum or quantity. Qualitative research is defined as research that does not carry out calculation. According to Boltzmann, qualitative research consists of inquiry, symbolic, and ethnomethodological research. Second, Matthew and Michel Haberman. Qualitative research is the source of a broad and well-grounded description and contains an explanation of the process that occur in the local environment. Qualitative is a form of work from a series of numbers and can grade used to obtain unexpected discoveries and to form new theoretical frameworks. Third, Anselm Strauss and Julia Corbin. Qualitative research is intended as a type of research whose findings are not obtained from statistical procedure or other form of calculation. In this case, it can be in the form of a person's history and behavior. Some of the data can be calculated such as census data, however, the analysis is qualitative. Next, phenomenon. Things that can be seen with the five senses and can be explained and assessed scientifically. How to determine the phenomenon of qualitative research based on data on the dependent variable used. If a student is looking for information about giving a going concert audit opinion, the student must look for financial statements that are given a business continuity paragraph by a public accountant. Next, the scope of qualitative research in the field of psychology examines the understanding of the essence of qualitative research related to the field of psychology, understanding of the subject and object of psychological studies, raising the uniqueness of case, conducting analysis, and drawing conclusions from research. So that the scope of qualitative research is very broad as the scope and understanding of researchers in looking at events that occur in society. This event we call phenomenon, and from this phenomenon we can determine the dance and little rise in qualitative research studies. In qualitative research, there is no limit to what phenomena shall be investigated. However, this research will be good and quality if we ask researchers are able to find unique phenomena, or even and researchers are still rarely researching these phenomena. And as a competent researchers, apart from having to treat the subject properly and ethically, we also have to maintain the confidentiality of the subject. Of course, it is related to ethics that must be adhered to by all researchers, so that the data obtained is not falsified or not made up poorly from the view of the subject related to a phenomenon. Next, qualitative approach. Qualitative research approach is an approach that emphasizes the aspect of in-depth understanding of a problem rather than looking at the problem. For generalization research, this research method prefer to use in-depth analysis technique, namely examining problem on a case-by-case basis, because qualitative methodologies believe that the nature of one problem will be different from the nature of other problems. The purpose of this qualitative research approach is not a generalization but an in-depth understanding of a problem. Qualitative research serves to the provide substantive categories and qualitative research hypotheses. Next, quotes from the research domain facts according to Creswell H. Sugiono. Qualitative research approaches are divided into 5 types, namely phenomenological researchers, broader theory, ethnography, case study, and the last, narrative research. Sample. The research sample can be interpreted as part of the population that is the subject of research and is a representative of the member of that population. Both are two things that are very decisive in research because they can provide generalization to the conclusion of the research result obtained. Example: this research is the fourth grade the student of SDN Bumi Harjo, 2 as the experimental class, and SDN Surut Sadang as the control class. Sampling technique using a sampling technique, namely the cluster technique, random sampling. Sugiono states the cluster technique, random sampling is a sampling technique when the object studied or the data source is very broad. There are two texts to stack in use cluster random sampling technique, namely first determining sample area, second determine the object that is used as research in the area that select randomly. Thank you for saying and listening to my explanation. I hope this material can be useful for all of you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.